What is going on, everyone? Someone in the chat can just make sure the audio is all good, as per usual on these streams. Make sure everyone can hear me. That'd be fantastic. And yeah, hang out for a little bit today. I got some stuff going on this afternoon, but I figured it's a long weekend. Might as well come on and spend some time with you guys and hang out for a little bit on kind of a quiet Monday for me. But I have a little bit of stuff going on later today, so might not be able to hop on as long as I'd like to normally with these chats with you guys, but yeah, let's hang out for a little bit and talk and hang out. Hey, Alex, man, hope you're doing well. Hey, Justin, hope you're doing well. Trying to add a do-it-all mod pedal to my wet section to go with my CE2 LCAP Immerse V2. Any thoughts on the Mako M1 versus Line 6 HX1? M1 would miss the OC effect. I don't have a lot of experience with either. The Walrus Mako line, that stuff's pretty cool, I think. I think they've done a really good job with a lot of those products and everything. I don't know how it compares to the Line 6. Definitely one of those things where if you can try both of them out and see how they sound, I think that'd be really great. Does the Strymon Mobius have any of that feature section either you're looking for? Because that's another really good one for like a do-it-all sort of thing. But real estate-wise, I assume it's going to be a lot larger than something like the Walrus Mako. But if the octave effect's something you're really wanting, then yeah, you don't want to miss out on that. That's for sure. But I think, you got the CE2, you got the LCAP, and an Immerse. You got 3 incredible pedals on the board already that are very, very good at doing what they do. So I think, something that just handles the rest of the modulation, I think could be really interesting no matter what. So I think you're going in a really awesome direction no matter what with the board. Thanks, Brian. Alex, you guys can hear me all good? Awesome. It's always just one thing. I'm like, okay, hopefully the audio works for everyone before we do this. Okay, so Brian, have you added any new pedals to your lineup? Not really. I haven't spent a lot on like adding new pedals, or I haven't prioritized adding any new gear in terms of pedals, I guess. I'm up on the wait list for the King of Tone, so I'll be getting off my butt and adding one of those to the rig or like the collection at some point here. But I've downsized so much. I'm trying to just like sort out other things right now. I haven't put new pickups on my Strat yet either, which is something I've been very lazy about doing. So pedals have kind of taken a back seat for me. The newest pedal that I have is the Broadcast that Ariel gave me. That's the newest pedal I've gotten. The last one I bought, I don't even know what the last pedal I would have bought. Maybe the Thorpe Effects Deep Ogden Chorus, which I bought back in January. I think that might be the actual last time I bought a pedal, which is really absurd. But I think that's the last pedal I bought, and that's one of my favorite choruses out there. It's really brilliant. Yeah, the new toy that's behind me there. Yeah, it's really wicked. I haven't had a lot of time to play it. It showed up with the reverb not working and a couple of the tubes being a little finicky. So I got it and fired it up, and it wasn't fully functioning. So I was like, all right, well, that's kind of a little bit of a kick in the gut, and kind of killed the excitement for it a little bit. But I was at my tech's house all week, just got it back Saturday. Long week, and the days are all like blending together a little bit. Just got back Saturday, and I played it a little bit when I first got it, and it sounds beautiful. It's kind of, what you'd expect a really nice old Fender to sound like. It sounds really good. So I'm incredibly happy with it. And we'll definitely be getting to know it a lot more. I haven't even ran it with the 2-rock yet or anything. I just played it a little bit on its own. And I was like, all right, sounds great. It's all fixed. It's all running, working to go. Yeah. And that's pretty much where we stands with that. Yeah, it just kind of, it's one of those things where it still doesn't sink in that, like, for me, like, as a holy grail amplifier that was like realistic potentially and ever buying, the fact that I've got it, it's kind of like, all right, well, it hasn't quite sunk in yet, like how special it is, and just how clean it was and everything, kind of how everything fell into place where I just had to jump on it. And it was just like, all right, well, now I have this to hang out with. So yeah, once I get a mic set up, I'll definitely post some stuff on the channel with it. Priority of things I want to do, not quite up there yet, but eventually we'll go and start doing it. But yeah, guys, if you have any questions, any things you want me to touch on, chat about for while we hang out for like an hour or so, definitely throw them all in the chat. Any questions, any video ideas you want me to make as well on the channel, let me know. Solo tour is done, so I have a couple more videos I want to make in regards to the solo tour as well, like the Vultures loop solo John did a couple nights ago. Gabe was telling me about that one. He was like, dude, you got to cover that one. It's pretty sick. So that'll be a video I'll be making on the channel. A few other cool ones as well I got coming up, but any ideas, any things you guys want me to touch on, please let me know as well, because that helps give me ideas and what I can actually make and do. After seeing Jonathan Ibanez, any thoughts about adding an Ibanez to your lineup? Which Ibanez are you referring to? I'm trying to think about seeing Jonathan Ibanez. There was the one when he was in the studio with JP Sachs. Is that the one you're referring to? That was an Ibanez, I think, right? Trying to remember which exact Ibanez. The Jackson from like that's the one that he's been playing is maybe really want to go out and get one. Just any guitar with the Floyd Rose between that and the Charvel. I've definitely been wanting to add one of those. And back in May, I almost bought an SL3, which is kind of like the not the custom shop level, but it's like the newer like made in USA spec soloist that they got going on. I almost walked out of the store with one of those in like the electric blue, but I had some restraint and didn't. But I really want to get one of those, just as something very unique, very different. That's kind of nothing like I've ever played before and like owned. So I'd like to get one of those. Ibanez's I don't have much experience with though. Yeah, the Pink Jackson. Yeah, no, that one. I've almost bought one. But it's kind of like same thing, like with the priority of things I want to do and things I want to get. It's like the new amp kind of threw everything to a bit of a, bit, but I had to do it. It just was a really great opportunity and holy grail amplifier for me for sure. So I was like, I'd rather have that than a lot of other stuff. So it's like, that's why I haven't even bought the King of Tone yet. Cause I'm like, I just got my vibroverb, so I'm just gonna chill for a little bit. And same thing, the Strat, the new pickups can wait a little bit before I go and buy new pickups for that and everything like that. I just want to kind of chill for a little bit and hang out and not, go too crazy here, like I've sometimes gone. But yeah, I'd like to get a Jackson eventually. I have a couple other guitars that are more for me personally. I think ones I'm interested in getting first. But a Floyd Rose guitar at some point, whether it's a Charvel or a Jackson, I think for sure would be something really cool to kind of round out the collection and just like have something that's very unique that I just, it's not like buying another Strat or anything like that. It's something that I don't have at all. Thoughts on the Slash situation? Well, at first I was like, what the hell is going on? And then now it's come out that he's going to be using Magnetone and Marshall to some degree. I don't exactly know what's going on. But yeah, when I saw that, it kind of looked like he was ditching Marshall. It just felt very weird. And it was almost something where it's like Slash needs to like say something about it and be like, listen, guys, like this is what's going on. But now I guess he's using both, which is cool. If he's using both, that's cool. But it's kind of like, it's like a Gibson Les Paul. Almost kind of the same thing with Slash. It's like if Slash stops playing Les Pauls, that's like Gibson's number one like poster boy essentially. So same thing with Marshall. They lose Slash. That's a huge kind of loss for them. So kind of cool that he's using both. I'm down for that. I think there's always room for switching things up, but his core sound is Marshall's. So if he loses that, that'd be kind of interesting. Any gear purchases on the horizon? So he's selling some stuff. Yeah. I'm always kind of looking to, if I don't use something or if I'm not like really, vibing with it or whatever, I don't like keeping absolutely everything. It's just impossible. You just can't, right? Like keep everything. So I'm always kind of like things are coming in, things are going out to kind of replace and stuff like that. And I try to keep, just, if I buy something goes out. Like with the Silver Sky in my Mayor Strat, I got the custom shop vibroverb and I sold the Mayor Strat. And then I wanted my custom shop Strat, so I sold the Silver Sky and some other stuff. And then listed more stuff because I bought the 64 vibroverb. So that's why I was kind of purging a lot of stuff just to kind of help fund that purchase and just not have it so that like just a lot of cash just coming out or going into the gear arsenal, I guess, so to speak. So like to kind of keep it just level if I can. So that's why it's like if I'm selling stuff, it's either I'm falling out of love with it or just ready to move on, which is true. That's why I've downsized like my collection a ton. But generally it's because there's something else I would rather have. And I don't personally get too attached to gear either. So I don't have that hard of a time letting things go. So yeah. Yeah, actually, Cog, Red Hot Chili Peppers on Instagram. He's like a guy who he's not like part of the band, but he's like some of their like he tours with them essentially, and he posts like a bunch of like great like footage and stuff, and just kind of like I don't know whatever he's doing, like getting to go to every single show. Amazing like thing he's doing. He posted a lot of really great side stage like footage where you can actually see what John's doing. So I was going to maybe take all of that footage and break it all down in one long video. But yeah, hopefully there's more stuff with the Chili Peppers that comes out, because I'd love to talk about John again, but it's just like you get no great footage of him because it's all shows that are in these massive stadiums. So there's no side stage footage or anything like that, like you do with like a Mare show or anything like that. And then he hasn't changed his board at all. He got his pedal board, and then it's been the exact same since pretty much the first show. So there's not really anything to update on either. Where he's not like John, where he's like John Mayer, who's like tweaks and tinkers with everything. For Shanchi, just kind of got his rig together, and that was it. So it was really fun to cover a lot of the stuff when it first came out, but hopefully they get back in the studio, start making more music, and then there'll be lots to talk about again too when it comes to that stuff. From Holden, a video about John's 61 hardtail would be awesome. Even if we don't have a lot of information, a vid would just be awesome because it was used on Wild Blue and something like Olivia. Yeah, that's a really cool guitar. I haven't decided yet how I want to do it. Like some like the real lesser known guitars that don't have a lot of info. If I do like, a video on Mare's 5 lesser known strats and I tackle a few of them together, or if I do just, if it's 5 minutes, it's 5 minutes and it just catalogs it. It's definitely one that's on the horizon. I think the Monterey is one I'd like to do too, but that one is kind of tricky to iron out the details on. So I'm trying to kind of figure some stuff out with the Monterey, but that's another one I want to make too. But I'm glad you guys are liking those videos. They're really fun to make. Like the Fiesta Red, I actually piecing together a lot of information, was really fun because it's a guitar that John didn't play a lot, but it's super cool. And I think it had something to do with the Silver Sky for sure. It's too much a coincidence. From Antonio Lopez, what year Strat is the black one based on? Ooh, that's a great question. I don't know if it's an exact, like, based on any year, like a replica. Maybe someone in the chat knows more about that than I do, but that's a good question. I've never actually thought about, like, what is it actually supposed to be? If it's like a 50, I don't think it's 59, like a 60. I don't even know. That's a great question. I actually don't know that. Dan, you again. Hey man, thanks for all the content that you put in. I appreciate that, Dan. The videos on the Jackson's jam plays inspires me to mod my Floyd Rose guitar. That's wicked. It's always cool to hear that something I say or make a video on inspires you guys. So that's really cool. That's awesome. Dan, what kind of Floyd Rose guitar is it? Oh yeah, I still need to get one at some point. I know Gabe has one, and when he first got one, the nightmares of restringing it kind of slightly like scared me, but it's something I got to just bite the bullet on and get eventually. Again, Justin, I finally caved and bought a Made in Japan TS10 for $350. Found a local shop. Wow, that's a great price. It's crazy now that when we're saying like $350, I assume US for TS10 is a good price. That's absurd. Very happy with it. Bit beat up and has a scratchy volume pop, but happy with it. Oh yeah, honestly, if it works and sounds great, it's one of those pedals too where more or less you set and forget it. Put all the knobs up like between 12 and 3 o'clock, and then you just set it on and leave it. And plus too, with like these old pedals, I find too, it's nice to have one that's all mint and like, a pristine example, but then you're constantly stepping on it anyways. And especially if you're gigging like you are, you're just like, it's going to get worn anyway. So if you already have one that's not in, perfect condition, it doesn't matter because you're just going to get more beat up anyways. And it's meant to be a tool for sound and everything. So that's awesome. That's a great deal. Remember when I got mine like 5-6 years ago for like 90 Canadian, which would be like maybe what, like 65, 70 US just locally. That was insane. And now like to see what they're going for some days, I'm like, do I just sell my TS10 and cash in on that? Because it's like, it's absurd what people are asking for them now. Milo Fernandez, what's the story of your Marshall? This guy here is a 77 JMP 2203. Funny enough, identical to the one that John Frusciante is playing now on stage, and is kind of like his second or like one of his two main Marshalls now. Yeah, I love it. It's a great sounding amplifier. It was a bit of a problem child for the longest time. What was kind of funny with it is when I found like a really good amp tech in town here, finally, I sent it to him because I was like, it's never ran like happy. It's always had some sort of crackle or issue or volume swell going on. It's a great amp, but it always was never happy. And it was all original. I knew that for a fact. So sure enough, then from the factory, he finds out that like they had wired things backwards and there were issues with all this other stuff. So got a complete once over, and now it sounds absolutely brilliantly. And I used to have, if some of you guys have been here for a long time with the channel and like just connecting with me socially on Instagram and stuff, I used to have a mini Silver Jubilee. And when I finally got that Marshall running perfectly, I did a blindfold test and A-B'd them. And of course, I preferred the 2203. So I sold the Silver Jubilee, the mini one. It was a mini one too, so the wattage was different, but still, I preferred the sound out of this one. And then to see Frusciante, when they did the Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel, I think it was, performances, I was looking, I'm like, what the hell is he using? And then it's kind of like, oh, son of a bitch moment. He's using the same amp I am. So that works out. That's really great. Alexander, my girlfriend wants to know how many guitars you have. I tell her I need a lefty custom shop. How many we got on the wall behind me here? 6. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a matter of personal preference. They all do different things. They all sound different. They all feel different in your hands. So it might be just another guitar, but they're all very different. They all make different sounds. They all make you play differently. You'll connect with them differently. I always joke that, I need a Strat that's an E flat all the time. I never play anything in E flat, but it's a good excuse to buy another one. So, yeah. Do you think the 64 white Strat John has been using was Jimi Hendrix's? I've heard so much conflicting information on that guitar, and there's I know like JF Gear on Instagram has said it is, and I think it's Bruno who's behind that. He seems to know his shit pretty well. I just have never seen anything that to me like jumps out as like concrete like confirmation that it's that. But I also, to be honest, haven't like dove that much into that guitar. I know it's something a lot of people have been asking me to, and it's just kind of like fallen down the list of priorities and stuff. But maybe now that I've been doing like documentary videos on like for Mayer's guitars, maybe I'll do one on that white Strat. Because it is a really cool guitar if it is a Hendrix owned one. Yeah, I think it's a good possibility. I don't know for a fact though if it is or not. Oh, I'm so jealous. You're gonna have so much fun. A lot of their shows, I still watch a lot of live footage and stuff, and just every night they're killing it. I think the chemistry with John and the band as well has just gotten even better as this tour has gone on and everything like that. Like you can just tell like they're really grooving together. They've really just, reconnected and stuff like that. They're playing very tightly. You're gonna have a great time. You're gonna have a really great time. Next YouTube video gonna be what is the next video? I haven't recorded it yet. Probably the Vultures acoustic looping solo jam John did on the solo tour. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about some details around the rig that John played on during the solo tour, the amps specifically. If you guys saw it on his Instagram, he posted a photo of kind of the stage from like high up from behind. And you can actually see he had the T-Rock, his custom reverb signature number 83 was behind all the amps, I assume just as a backup. And then you could see kind of like the speakers that were in the cabs. The Vibroverb didn't even have one, so we took that out at some point. Just a few details like that I want to touch on, and then probably just a highlight of the pedal board. I just was wanting to wait until the tour was done personally, but yeah. Noticed you using DC7 power supply on the Goodbye James Strat video. Yeah, I love all the Cucks, however you say it. All their stuff is fantastic. That's the only power supplies that I use besides Strymon. But for larger rigs and everything, especially because like the DC7, DC8, you can connect them together. That I really like, because you just only have one actual line that's going to like like the mains. You just have one actual like power plug. You can connect them that way. And then the dip switches as well. You can change the amount of voltage you need, which I find is really convenient too. But on my main pedal board, I just have their chocolate. It's kind of like the chocolate bar thing, which actually has like a dedicated 24 volt outlet and just everything like that. So I can power a massive rig just with that one power supply. So yeah, those are the ones I recommend. Or Strymon as well are really great too. But the Kiosk stuff I just like. And that covers those three. Black one is based on a 63. I'm pretty sure it's close to SOV's number one. The body like a 60s and neck seems 63 shape. Yeah, I don't think it's like specifically based on one sole guitar. I think like year. I think it was kind of like combination of like different 60s specs. But yeah, that seems about right. Andrew, please do more videos about Frusciante's other guitars. Yeah, I got to again. When the Frusciante videos were kind of not performing as well, it just was honestly like a bit of an incentive thing to not make the videos as well, because it's just like, I want to keep growing the channel. And when I spend, hours making a video and then it only gets like a little bit of views, I'm just kind of like, well, not great. So I don't feel that great about it. So I definitely like to go back to making more content around that. For sure. There's just been a lot of stuff to cover with Mayor too, with like the solo tour and everything going on. So yeah, more Frusciante videos will be coming, and I'll always continue to cover him, especially as long as you guys keep watching him and stuff like that. Anthony Flores, I bought a made in Japan TS10 modded by Analog Man back in 2018. Ooh, that has to be pretty sick. What's the mod do? I know he does all like the Tube Screamer mods and like, I think, what is it, the True Vintage mods he'll do on like the TS808 and 9, like the reissue ones. But a TS10 modded by him would be really cool. I wonder what exactly it does, because there's certain characteristics of the TS10 that's definitely not for everyone. Fave Hendrix guitar. I don't know. I don't listen to a lot of Hendrix. I've never, I love and appreciate Hendrix for what he's done and like in the history and everything and all that stuff. But I don't like listen to him super. Same thing with Stevie Ray Vaughan, to be honest. I don't listen to him super religiously. So I don't really have a favorite. I say maybe the Monterey, just because of what it was and kind of the whole spectacle behind that guitar. That's probably my favorite. And then how that guitar, became an important Mayor guitar, at least. I think that probably be my favorite. Basil Tiffany, hey. You think Jam will do another signature amp? Maybe. The last one didn't do very well, so at least I think. So it'd be hard pressed to see. I think what would be really cool is a lower wattage combo amplifier that maybe is a bit more widely produced and a bit more accessible for just like a really nice clean amplifier. Maybe if like PRS did their take on kind of like a deluxe reverb kind of deal, a bit more Mayor spec, maybe if they take like a little bit more Dumble into it. I think that could be really cool. But John in signature gear is kind of, it's interesting in how he does. Like, him and Josh Scott could have done a signature pedal years ago. They've had every opportunity to, never did. The PRS pedals, John didn't, put his name on it or anything. So I don't know. I think he's very much all in on the Silver Sky right now. So an amp, I think, is very much, in the back of their minds. But a really small, like Fender Deluxe Reverb kind of style amplifier, I think would be super cool if they did like a Mayor signature one. It's like Chalks. Yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Chalks. I'm not very good at pronouncing things, as you guys know. From Chris Day, any plan to do some gear demos? Really enjoyed the ones you've done, and you have some killer gear to showcase, especially that new app. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, definitely once I get the proper setup and everything to do so again, I would like to start doing it. It's always like, I've talked about it before in other live streams and stuff like that, but doing those gear demos and stuff, they're very difficult to make, just in terms of, I want to get the best tones possible for you guys and then do my best to do the playing somewhat justice. And then they just end up taking forever to record to get good takes. And then I get very frustrated, and then I end up coming back to it and sometimes reshooting them. So there's a lot more that goes into those videos just from me, sitting down at my computer here and hitting record and talking about something I know a lot about. I appreciate that you really enjoyed them though. They're fun to make. I like to get back into them. Eventually I'm going to get like an actual like mic setup, I think is kind of the goal, just because even the aux, I was never happy with how I got the tones out of that. And I wasn't doing it probably quite as how I should have done, talking to some friends who have had the aux, but I think, you lose a bit of the magic even then using the aux, where it's like if you capture it right off of a speaker, I think that's where you can get some really great, tones, and you can kind of do more justice to what it sounds like in the room a little bit. So eventually I'd like to get like a Shure SM7 B, what is it, the Plus or whatever the very new one that they came out with is. I like to get that for vocals, like my speaking audio for just like YouTube stuff, and then maybe combine that with another mic to do actual mic stuff. So once I get that whole setup done, I'll probably start doing more things like that. As I've mentioned already, it's kind of like the priority of things right now. It's not super high up, to be honest. But yeah, eventually I'd love to do that. Yes, please, if you're here, like the video, everything on all the videos, please. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks, Teletone Monkey. I appreciate that. Thanks, Ruben. I appreciate that. It's daunting too, because it's like, I don't claim to be the best player on the planet, nor like, I'm just not. So I try and do things just to more show concepts. Like the gain stacking video I did, it was like, I'm not going to play like John, but if I can just somewhat get across the point of like how you can gain stack to create these overdriven sounds and kind of what John does, then at least the video's done its job. And, I can walk away happy from it, at least that I've helped people out like that. Yeah. So I'll do some more stuff eventually, like that. But I appreciate that, you guys. Still saving up for your Vive Reverb, by the way. I hate to break it to you, Ruben, but the reissue sold. So it's gone. That was a video I would have loved to have done, to be honest. If the reissue stuck around and I didn't sell it, that was actually something I was kind of like, okay, if I have both of them together, maybe I will go out and grab a mic setup and actually like figure this out sooner than later. So then I can do a video shooting them out, because they both sounded really good when I shot them out together. But yeah, someone bought it pretty quicker than I thought it would go, to be honest. So I was like, all right, like, well, it's gone, it's gone. So yeah, unfortunately the reissue's gone. So I'm sorry about that. But if you find one, they're phenomenal amps. Favorite Fender for a reason. From Elliot, how did you end up with so many humbucker guitars and only one Strat? Seems strange since you're such a huge Mayer fan with T-Rock and now the real deal Vibe Reverb. So my guitar journey and like my influences never originated with Mayer or even like Strat style guitar players. When I was younger, I was very much like, and this is, crazy to think now this is how I thought, but I really liked Les Paul's higher gain tones. Jimmy Page and Slash were my like religion, pretty much. Like Marshall, Les Paul, straight in, no pedals, just crank an amp. That was like the sound I always was after. Even just like Jimmy Page's overdriven kind of sound from Ramble On in the movie It Might Get Loud, that documentary, when he knocks it onto the bridge pickup, that was just like, when I heard that, that was just it. That was the tone for me. And for the longest time, that was kind of what I was into. And then I discovered Mayer, and then that slowly changed. And like I had my Silver Sky and my Mayer Sig for a while, got rid of both of those. There's still we still got an SRV Strat down here, which is the very first Strat I actually ever bought. But I was very much more into the, at this point, it's like I have them, like the gold top was my grandfather's too. So like sentimental value in some of these guitars and stuff like that too, and things like that, where it's like that gold top I'll never sell. It's actually my number 2 right now. That thing's just rips. But I was more like, I don't find myself playing a lot of these guitars. I mainly only pick up the Strat, and it's like I'd rather have one really good Strat that I just kind of can make my own, put the pickups in and stuff like that, than have multiple. So even though I have like a couple humbucker guitars down here, I really only play the Strat. The Shiflet Telly is sweet though too. It's fast, it's fun. The pickups in it sound great. That's a really great guitar too. Hardtail Silver Sky. Yeah, we'll see what happens, I guess. with that. Maybe in the future we'll get one. Oh, same question. Yeah, but then it's kind of like same thing though. Like my whole rig kind of revolves around the Mayor sound more or less, like that kind of sound. Even like with Joe Bonamassa, being a big influence tonally wise as well. His Strat sound is one of my favorite Strat sounds ever. But the Les Paul humbucker tone too, or with like the bigger like yes 335s and stuff like that, I love too. But yeah, it's kind of I just would rather have one Strat mainly, or like one main really good Strat. The tone for the Heartbreak Warfare solo, also Battle Studies underrated tone, Klon, Bluesbreaker, Tube Screamer Stack. Yeah, one of my favorite Mayor solos tonally wise is it's Heartbreak Warfare solo. What was it? Let me look it up here for you guys. Heartbreak Warfare Live 2010. It was at some like Logis or something like that. Yeah, Logis. Wonder if I can throw. I think I can. Yeah, I can. I posted the link to that in the comments. That's one of my favorite Mayor solo tones ever. Actually, it's crazy. Yeah, Battle Studies is for sure an underrated tonally era, especially because it's the same rig that he used for Crossroads with Keith Urban, which you guys, most of you know, that's my favorite Mayor kind of thing ever. Yeah, same rig. So that rig is very, very criminally underrated, I think, too. Alexander Roy, any thoughts on the Fender Pure Vintage 59s? Thinking of throwing them in my Squire. If JM uses late 50s Strat for any songs live. There was one, I think 59 he used. I'm not big on 50s Strats. Off the top of my head, I'm not remembering if he's used. Because it was 66 was the one, the big headstock one was the one he used for Bullet Is Love, Sweet Thing. With Keith Urban, that's that guitar. That's trying to think what other Strats. He's never been, I think, a big 50s guy. Don't have a lot of experience with pickups either, so I don't know. I'm sure they sound great though, especially if like the later 50s thing is what you're going for. Joey, I'm just here to tell you, everyone, the AP1 is worth at least 5,000 pounds easy. Hey, thanks, Joey. Nice to see you, brother. You haven't sold your blue Hippo yet, have you? Those things are worth like 10,000 pounds, guys. So if you want one, go to Joey's eBay page and buy one. Oh, geez, Elliot, don't be sorry at all. Just adds more comments to the stream anyway. So I definitely do not mind at all. Ryan, hey man, thoughts on the ODR1? I have one and love it. It has the bluesy vibe. Use it stacked with an Archer icon. Thoughts? I've never gotten into the ODR kind of sound. It's something I'd like to try eventually. Just never been that kind of overdriven kind of style of pedal. I guess I've never really gotten into. Something I'd like to try out though. I know a lot of people play them, love them. Yeah, I don't know. I've never tried one, to be honest. So all the demos I've heard sound really great. Keeley's got that new one where it's Tube Screamer and ODR kind of sound in it. So that'd be an interesting pedal to try out too. Bill Craig, fun hypothetical. JM leaves PRS tomorrow. Outside of Fender, who would you want him to collaborate with for his new signature guitar? Outside of Fender, I think a lot of people think, well, I guess John Cruz doesn't make guitars right now with what's going on with his company. That's kind of the first thought that came to my mind. If he just went with like an old master builder, that'd be really cool. Carlos Lopez is another name that comes to mind as someone who's like left the Fender custom shop and is, kind of doing their own thing. I know John did. I say I know. I'm pretty damn sure. I don't remember if I can find the old thread or not, where I kind of stumbled upon this, but apparently John had talked to Sir before he went to PRS, and that was kind of the company he was leaning towards going with. And as the story goes, if I'm remembering correctly, they were kind of like when they realized what John wanted to do, they just knew they weren't going to be able to make it happen. So it's a bit of a smaller company and everything, and they just were kind of like, I don't think we're going to be the right fit for what you're looking for and what you're wanting to do. And that's how he kind of went to PRS. From what I remember, that was a thing. Don't directly quote me on that, guys, but yeah, there was something like that with Sir that I think he was doing. I've never played any Sir guitars, but yeah, that was another brand. But to me, I think if he partnered up with a builder, that'd be kind of cool, like an old master builder. John Cruz, hopefully he can get back to building guitars and stuff like that. And I think that'd be a really great partnership. Flandrew, big fan of your content. Thanks, brother. You mentioned how tough it is when you put so much effort into a vid and then it doesn't get a lot of views. The algorithm is a harsh mistress for us creators, but keep up the great work. Thank you. Yeah, it's there's nothing more frustrating when I make a video that like I think has a lot of really good value, it's taken a lot of time to put effort and research into, and then it just if you've done YouTube videos, on like your dashboard, you get like your list of your top 10 most recent videos, and then it ranks it based on those recent 10. That's kind of how it determines if it's a good video or not, as far as the algorithm's kind of concerned. And then you put all this effort in, and then it just goes ramp 10 out of 10. Like, everything's like arrows going down, it's all in gray. And you're just like, okay, well, that sucks. And then you do one that you don't think so. And this happened to me a lot, actually, where there's one where I think, yeah, this is going to be good. You just get a video out there. It'll be fun, entertaining. And then it blows up. And it's like 1 out of 10 little firework emotions going off on like the dashboard. And I'm like, okay, sick. That's the video that's going off. Yeah, the algorithm's a pain. But at the end of the day, all you guys who watch it all, I just appreciate you all and stuff like that. And it's, it's what I'm here to do, make content for you guys anyways and stuff like that. Still might change your mind. Yeah, it's one of those things where if you sell it for what you're asking for and what you hypothetically could get for it, hard to say no, right? But it's like me with certain gear too. Like when Chris Buck did the video on the Fender Twin, the high-powered Twin, made me really miss mine a lot, actually. That was one amp where I was kind of like, shit, it would have been cool to have kept. But like I said, can't keep everything, as you know, Joey. Have you tried the Warm Amp Centavo? Just knocked the tumness off my board. It's a great clean boost and OD. No, was Warm Audio, right? That's another clone that looks to be pretty promising. I'm sure it sounds great. A lot of their stuff, especially like the rack gear that they do, seems to be really good. So the pedals, I think, are going to be really sweet too. Not personally a fan of them, how shameless they are, and just the blatant branding of what they're trying to clone. Not a big fan of that personally when companies do that, but I'm sure it sounds great. I knew what you meant. I knew what you meant. Recline, what'd you think of the PRS Modern Eagle 5? Don't know. I haven't played any of those guitars. The only other PRS besides the Silver Sky that I've really ever played is one of my buddies used to have a old school Custom 24. I guess I've played Gabe's Super Eagle too. But Custom 24, all those PRSs are beautiful. I just kind of lean towards more of the Gibson kind of offerings when it comes to like it's their humbucker guitars. I don't even know off the top of my head what the Modern Eagle 5 is. Let's find out. Oh, okay, yeah. And this is the one thing that I kind of laugh, like the differences in a lot of these PRS guitars. I have a hard time remembering because it's kind of like the exact same body shape, more or less. Different, obviously, pickup configurations. Like this one's 22 frets versus like the Custom 24 or the 594, being a bit of a different thing too. The 594 is one I'd be really interested in trying out. This one looks great too with the middle pickup in it. Yeah, I mean, I think these guitars too are a lot of these guitars that PRS does are just obviously super versatile. You can get so many tones out of them, especially if you're like a gigging musician. You could bring one of these to a gig and just be fine. You wouldn't really need to bring anything else. I think one of my buddies actually, Dan, just bought one of these. Should talk to him about it. But yeah, I think these are really great guitars that are super versatile. Can do a lot with like, just looking at the spec sheet online here on PRS. all of the push-pull tone knobs for every position that you can do. Super versatile. Obviously, like all PRS stuff, absolutely built like a tank. Super high quality stuff. So yeah, not something that I find ever, personally for me, but I think they're obviously like, really incredible instruments. From Santos, you ever tried a deluxe reverb 65 ratio? I'm leaning towards one, but I'm afraid that it'll get fizzy with pedals. Yeah, that's something I've a lot of people talk about when it comes to those pedals. I think a good chunk of that has to do with the speaker, though. If you swap the speaker out, that can kind of help tame that fizziness and like them actually taking like more overdrive. That'd be a great question for the lounge. That's something I've seen posted in there recently, actually, I think. I'm talking about how to like kind of tame those amps more. And I think speakers make quite a big difference in that stuff. Never played a deluxe reverb at all, actually. It's one amplifier from Fender I really would like to try, but I've never played. I've played Gabe's actual deluxe reverb vintage one, but that's about it. Ricky Tan went to see JM Solo on Friday. He didn't play Gravity and he didn't play Belief, but I don't think I would have had it any other way for this tour. Wish he played EXO and Say, though. I was talking with some of my buddies about Say recently, actually, and it's like that is the perfect song for this whole tour, and he hasn't performed it. I don't know what it is with him in that song, but it's one of the ones where he's rarely ever performed it. And I think it was on the Mare Cruise or something. I remember there's one time he did play it, and he literally joked about being like, "I just have to actually prove that I sing this song, and this song's actually mine." To John even acknowledging that, like, yeah, I don't play this song. You think that'd be a perfect song for the solo tour, but it's something he never played. Yeah, with the solo tour, I could definitely take, or like leave, I should say, rather, Gravity and songs like Belief, big electric guitar, full band performances. Yes, give me that stuff. But acoustically, there's a lot of other stuff too that I'd rather hear than those songs. Even Slow Dancing in a Burning Room, to be honest, is kind of like, I could leave that as well. Like play something else that's a bit more, rarer to come out for John. All right. I always forget to drink my coffee during these streams, and then it just gets watery. In your last video, John used an exotic booster and a Keeley Katana boost in his pedal board. It's one for clean, one for distortion. No, not necessarily. I think just different levels of boost as well. John can do. I know the Super Sweet, is that the one where it has actually like a lot of gain on tap though? So it could be more of like the Katana has like a true clean boost, and then one for, a boost that's got a little bit more oomph to it. Could also be just two different levels of boost. Like one was a very large clean boost for like very specific things. One is more of a, he plugs in, okay, I just need a little bit more volume. One could be set up like that as well. Super Sweet, from what I remember, though, does actually have a lot of gain on it. So it could be like a little bit of hair, a little bit more than a Klon kind of, or like around the Klon thing where it's like light overdrive kind of thing. So I think you're kind of on like the right train, but right now, kind of impossible to know. I have one really great shot of his board with the Super Sweet on it when he played with David Wright Harris at the Hotel Cafe. I'll have to look at the settings on it. It depends, I think, the dip switches too, but kind of like that. Did I end up selling the Centaur? I know that was on the board for a while. No, I still have my Klon, but I'm definitely open to selling it. But the price has to be right for me to want to let it go. Just because it's like if I sell it for, a certain price point, let's say, there's a certain range where it's not worth getting rid of it to me. But if, I can kind of sell it for where the market is right now, find the right buyer, then yeah, I let it go. It's just like, it's a phenomenal pedal and it's stupid. I mainly like it because it's part of history and it's just, it's a Centaur. But there's so many great pedals that do the same sound where it's like, I sit there sometimes looking at it and I'm like, do I really need this thing? Like I could get, the nice custom shop Trini Lopez for that money, or another Two Rock for that price, like for what I could sell this thing for, right? So sometimes I think I'd rather put that money just towards other things that get more out of. Thoughts on the Universal Audio Dream 65? I'm a fan. Great for small environments. Yeah, I think all the UA stuff that they're doing is really great. The Edge has actually apparently, I was reading, or I got sent like the title of an article where he's actually ditched using real amps for, might be the Dream 65 actually, or one of those UA pedals, which I think is pretty ridiculous. But you get someone like him who's always been like a tube guy with his, his tweed amps and everything like that, the AC30s. Now he's gone to using one of those for at least the residency at the Sphere. I think all of those pedals are really great, especially when, if you're either like in a room where you can't play, or a situation where you can't play very loudly at home, or if you're gigging and it's just, lugging a big heavy tube amp around is kind of unrealistic. I think they're amazing tools. I'm someone though who I just can't go into that kind of thing for what the sounds I like, and it's a feel thing too. And I think one of the biggest thing that doesn't get talked about when we talk about Axe FX3, like the Fractal stuff, the Line 6 stuff, even the UA stuff versus an actual amplifier. Well, like tonally, maybe if you shoot two of them out, you can get them to sound very close together. Like maybe the 65, sounds close to a deluxe reverb. But it's a feel thing as well when you're in the room. And it's just, there's just something underneath your fingers where you just can't quite replicate that. And I think that's a huge part of the equation that doesn't get talked about enough when it comes to the solid state stuff. Now, through headphones, yeah, okay, maybe you'll get them to sound very close. But that feel part, if you're the person playing, is missing a lot. How are you liking the new custom shop Strat? I was thinking about selling my Silver Sky and JM Sig to get a custom shop Strat. You won't look back. I'll tell you that much. The JM Sig Strat is brilliant. It's great. The pickups, they're very unique. I loved that guitar when I had it. That was my number one guitar for a very long time. My custom shop is a way better guitar. It just is. That's just the reality. You're paying kind of a premium on the JM Sig for what it is. It's a collector's item. It's a piece of John's kind of artist gear history. And for a lot of people, that's, more than enough to keep it around. Is it, for what you might spend on a custom shop Strat, is it to that degree better than one? I'd say no. The necks on the JM Sigs, as most people know, are phenomenal. They're stupidly good. But I don't think you'll look back. Silver Skies as well are fantastic instruments. Really great. I love that Silver Sky that I had, and I still miss it actually, because there's certain things where they did modernize it where it does feel different. It does feel at certain points maybe even a little bit easier to play and a bit more comfortable. But for me at least, there's something about a Strat that just feels right, and like that more old schoolness that I connect with more. If you're thinking about it, I say you wouldn't look back, personally, because that's literally what I did. I sold the JM Sig Strat with the idea of getting a custom shop Strat. Then I bought the Rishi Vibroverb, and that was kind of a wash. I was like, all right, well, I'll wait. Then I sold the Silver Sky to help fund my custom shop Strat. And I personally don't miss either guitar where I'd want to go backwards. That's me, though. I don't want to tell you exactly what to do, but that's my take on it. Custom shop stuff, especially when, for me, the whole idea behind it was to make a guitar more of my own. Like, I'm going to put new pickups in mine, change the pick guard out. But having something that feels a little bit more mine, I'm bonding with it a lot more, if that makes sense. What's your thoughts on vibroverbs nowadays? Trying to get the vibroverb sound from my Dream 65. My favorite Fender amplifier for a reason. They are brilliant. The 15-inch speaker as well creates a whole new, it's just a different thing than even just playing, the 2-Rock or the Bandmaster through a 212 cab. You get a different characteristic with the 15-inch speaker, which is really cool. I have more thoughts the more I get to actually playing my vibroverb now. The JBL, though, there's a clarity to it, and just the high end as well that you get out of it. Sounds a lot more Fendery, and it's just it's really great. I'm not sure exactly how you get the vibroverb sound, so to speak, out of the Dream 65, because I think to a large degree, the vibroverb sound, a lot of that magic comes from the 15-inch speaker. So you can't really emulate that as far as I'm aware, like from a speaker wise, with the Dream 65. But it's just a really great, clean beautiful Fender sound. As long as you can get anything that's a nice clean Fender tone out of that, which you should be able to, I think, you know, you're in the ballpark regardless. Flandry, do you think Frusciante will ever do a rig breakdown video similar to the rig rundown videos they did with Josh and Flea? If he does, let's start a petition, have you interview him. Oh God, that'd be amazing. That would be amazing. That never happened, but I'd love to do an interview on him. They passed on doing it when Premier Guitar asked them when they came through to Nashville last year. Whether or not that was because the band was being a little bit more tight around their pandemic restrictions or whatnot, I don't know. But I know that Premier Guitar had mentioned in just like the comments that they just declined at this time. So I don't know. I'd hope he would do one again in the future. Be really cool. But if they passed on it this tour, I don't know. Because even the pedal board, I'm kind of like, whatever. Like, tell me about the amp situation and what's going on with the JMP, Jubilee, and the Major. Because I've heard so many different things on how John's running his amps. I just don't know what to believe at this point. From Ruben, do you know what your pedal board will look like in the future? Jeff Archer instead of Klon. I think you mentioned that you wanted to crop down to the basics around not have that huge board. Yeah, like doing the replica Mare thing was a lot of fun. And just as like a technical exercise, I really enjoyed it. It was very big though, and just there was not a lot of sounds that I wanted out of it, if that makes sense. I know roughly what my board I want to look like in the future, especially when I get out and keep playing with more people and stuff like that. Like Chris Buck and Ariel both use a Blues Breaker as an always on pedal. So I think for me, what I'd like to do is have maybe a G3 setup. I was looking at the Mastermind, actually like floor switchers, and kind of debating like if I wanted to go like that crazy and do like a rack unit and then with like a Mastermind switcher on the floor. But I'd like to do like a Blues Breaker that's always on for like my always on like kind of core dirt sound, just for like a little bit of hair pushing the amplifiers, and then like a Katana or something as the clean boost, then level everything out so that my clean tone is same volume as like the Blues Breaker, kind of more dirty, gainier sound, and then go from there. Probably King of Tone. If I keep the Klon, it'll stay on the board, but if not, even like the Joey Landreth Milner was something I was looking at. I really like Zach a lot. And just what he is, just even as like a guy, like you just get the vibe that he's just a really good dude and really passionate about his stuff. So the Milner in general is probably a pedal that I look as kind of like doing the same thing. Maybe the Landreth one though, because it's Joey Landreth's signature pedal. You know, can't really go wrong with that. Maybe getting into some more Thorpe stuff too. I was kind of looking at some of his fuzzes as well, just to kind of give some different tones and stuff like that. Of course, Ariel being a big inspiration. The King Tone stuff as well, like their fuzz and everything is one I'd like to try out. And just, yeah, kind of exploring different sounds. I like to get another Leslie style pedal too on the board and just kind of have like a bit more of a combination of sounds that I really like and songs that, you know, I want to start jamming with people more on, you know, kind of being songs that I want to play and like just practice with and stuff, and sounds I want to experiment with rather than just, yeah, like the big, you know, it's identical to Mare's board, but I don't use 90% of it. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with the board right now. I always have like a big like Photoshop file of like what it should look like. And Joey Landreth uses Gentleman pedal boards, which I think is a really good shout, and probably the board I'll go with too. They look really cool and they seem to be made really well, and just the sizing and where the holes are, I think are really great. So that's probably the board I'll go with, the physical one. What guitar and amp combo would you think is so unlike Mare he basically turned the world upside down if you ever went for it? Les Paul and a Marshall comes to mind. Marshalls, I don't think are that far out there just because John's used them in the studio to record with. He's used like an old JTM before. For I think there was like an early trio gig he did with I think it was with Buddy Guy, where he actually had like an old JTM on stage. Maybe that'll be a video I do. I don't think Marshalls are like you can get really brilliant clean sounds out of Marshalls. I'm like, look at Bonamassa, look at Frusciante. I don't think it'd be turning the world upside down personally. I think more like, you know, bring on like a Friedman Brown Eye or like a Mesa dual rack, and then I'd be like, what the hell? It'd be kind of cool. But I think something like that would be kind of crazy. You know, Les Pauls, I think, are one guitar where he's played like rarely in the past, but that'd be kind of a really odd choice. But then, before I'd think maybe like a Jackson or a Charvel would be like, whoa, like that's really weird. But John's been playing them and it works. So guitar wise, maybe some kind of like a Strandberg or something like that, like a weird like 7-string like headless guitar. That for me, I think would be like really weird. From Tommy, is there any footage of John playing I Don't Need No Doctor on the solo tour? I haven't looked for any. I hope and assume there is, but I haven't seen any personally. If you guys know of any, throw it in the comments down below. The Edge is using all of the UAM pedals. Hey, okay, yeah. I got to read that article. But yeah, I heard he was using that stuff, which I think is kind of like really interesting. Like the new line pedal, Marshall Super Lead. Yeah, that one sounds pretty cool. But the fact that he's using all of them, that's interesting. The Edge is actually a really big inspiration of mine. I just think he's a genius in terms of the sounds like that are in his head and everything. And I've always liked YouTube, but it was the It Might Get Loud documentary where you just hear him, how I think it was Where the Streets Have No Name, and he breaks down the timing of it and how the sounds go in his head, and he'll stay up all night until he can replicate the sound that's in his head, and how much of a gear nut he is and how creative he is, with something like Elevation, even like that fuzz wah kind of thing he does. Brilliant. It's just so crazy good. And from, a guy who's a really big fan of effects, like someone like the Edges, you can't not love the guy for how dedicated he is to his craft and getting those very specific sounds. Yeah. So the fact that he's using them makes me very curious to those as well. No, I haven't. I'll have to look at the bill for that. Who's going? If I was really tempted to go to Crossroads for the trail. In the trail set list, that was kind of so I think I would have been a little bit miffed if I went, to be honest, and spent all that money. But yeah, it depends on who's going to the Dallas Guitar Fest. We'll see. Yeah, sold the Mox and Silver Sky. Don't have that anymore. But we're still going to hang out for a bit. I'm just kind of waiting on some plans later today, but we'll hang out for a bit longer. You haven't missed all of it yet. What are the specs of your custom shop Strat? I sold my Silver Sky because I'm a smaller guy and just couldn't get used to the thick neck, 7.25 inch radius, and smaller frets. It's pretty much a direct 64. I have the spec sheet saved to my phone. If you guys bear with me, I can quickly read that off for you. I remember, like, it was kind of curious for me too, because like I don't get a lot of opportunity to try like actual custom shop strats, so I kind of was going slightly blind, just using a lot of friends of mine that I really trust, like who know those kind of guitars and stuff like that, what they liked and stuff like that, and just based on kind of their advice. That's kind of how I went and got it, and luckily I really love it. In terms of the specs, okay, maybe I don't have it saved to my phone. I know where I can find it though, quick. Okay. I'm going to have to resave this to my phone. So, okay. Specs. So it's got the hand wound Texas Specials, which just aren't my thing, but I wasn't really concerned about actual like pickup specs. They're going to get changed out anyway. I assume you're more interested in the neck. Okay, yeah, so it's a 63 neck profile is essentially what it is. Okay, yeah, so it's got 6105 frets on it that I did remember. So for frets, radius, is your standard 9.5. 9.5. But with stuff that I didn't remember, so the nut width is 1.650. So the neck shape is a 63 style C, is what the shape is. Then the spacing at the first fret is 0.810. 12th fret is 0.970. I'm not sure how much those numbers mean to you. To be honest, they don't mean that much to me because I know some of my friends get so many custom shop strats that they really like narrow down what the specs of the neck have to be that they really like, or what the in terms of weights, like what's like the really preferred weight range or anything like that. For me, it was more like, is it a good guitar? Is it very resonant when it's unplugged? Does it look good? Is the relicking like what I want, like the right amount of flame in it? That was more my concern. And then it was like, if I like the specs, just based off what my friend told me with the neck and stuff like that, and from where I got it from, if the specs in the neck are really great, then that's kind of where I'll go from. Because Tommy was who originally owned my custom shop, actually. I was going to buy a Wildwood, which I thought was a very safe place to purchase from, because some custom shop strats, they're not all made great. It's funny, Ariel and I were actually talking about that a bit. Not every single custom shop strat is going to be a ringer. They're not all equal, unfortunately, but it kind of comes with the quirks of handmade instruments a bit more, right? You get a lot more variation, but Wildwood strats, consistently seem to be really, really great. So there was a Wildwood 10 one I was going to bite the bullet on. Then he was like, hey, I have this one that I haven't really talked to you guys about that I bought, but if you want it, I'll sell it to you. So that's where I got it from. And he really liked everything about it. And the specs personally were great for me. Like I mentioned, the Silver Sky I found in certain ways a bit more comfortable, but maybe just with the access to the frets, the higher up ones, especially having a 22nd fret, that is something I do really miss. But yeah, mine, that 63 kind of style C is kind of what my neck is like. What's your favorite tone of John's? Because in my opinion, nothing beats 2013, 2014 tone, especially the Global Citizen Festival. Yeah, 2013, 2014 is really up there for his best tones, for sure. I think the Trail, though, just because it's more unpolished, a bit more unique, that's, for me, maybe my favorite. I always go back and forth. I get asked this question a decent bit. And I always go back and forth on my favorite tones of John's. The Everyone Wants to Roll the World solo, one of my favorite tones, actually. And that's with the Jackson. But yeah, a lot of the tones. I Can't Find My Way Home from 2013, I think, was the year that he did that one, from the Born and Raised Paradise Valley era. That with the black one, that's one of my favorites. Going Down with the Rolling Stones, another one of my favorites, and that was from 2012. Kind of same core setup. Alessandro Cabs, Steel String Singer, JM2 Rock, Black One, that kind of era. Thoughts on a John Mayer mini pedal board replica? Do you mean, Brian, like with actual mini pedals, or just doing like a really small pedal board replica? Because I think eventually I'd like to go back just to have a Trail full-on replica board. I think that'd be really cool, where it's like kind of the core fundamentals anyways, with like long delay, slap back, 2 drives, clean boost, wah pedal, done. I guess Leslie too would actually be a thing you'd want. So maybe a Leslie pedal. But that's, I think they'd be really cool just to something have. So it's not like just this big, massive, full world tour scale replica that I used to have. Just having like a smaller pedal board that kind of, is done up. Like the one that Vertex did, that they did for the giveaway, where it's more compact, very clean. That would be a really cool thing. So I have an HX Stomp. Just curious how much better UAFX amp pedals are better than the Line 6 models. I don't have experience really playing either. I've kind of mentioned earlier on the stream, that kind of stuff is not really for me personally. The like amp and cab simulator, stuff like that. I don't really have much experience with it either, so I can't say. If anyone in the chat has some experience, feel free to ask as well. That'd be a great question to ask in the John Mayer Gear Lounge Facebook group as well. If you're curious with people's different experiences with those. You get a lot more people who know a lot more about that stuff than I do, to be honest. Do I use an attenuator? I used to have an aux. I used it for the Marshall when I had it. But even then, like I'm very fortunate enough where I have the ability to play loud at home. So I don't find myself really ever needing one, to be honest. The aux I did like when I had it, just for attenuation. I thought it was great at doing what it does, but the 2-rock, like the master volume on that thing, is brilliant. I can play that thing very, very quiet, like at what you'd call like a bedroom level volume. Still get a lot of the dynamics you'd want out of it. It sounds amazing. So that's one of my favorite things about 2-rock amps, actually, is that master volume. It's just so damn good. Even the Vibroverb, actually, this one, the reissue I found had a very noticeable volume jump where you needed it to be running on 3 at minimum to really get anything out of it. The 64, though, actually is more usable at lower volumes, which is very interesting. I don't know why that is. But it sounds better at quieter volumes, where the ratio I found like you needed to like have it cranked to like get anything out of it. And it was glorious once you did. But on 2, this Vibroverb still has like, it has a bit more going on. Where before that, the other one, I just was like, if I can't play it like to that level of volume, I'm just not going to use it. But yeah, that's my attenuator kind of experience. Plexi for cleans is solid. I played my Hendrix 20 and used a Ghoul Screamer into Milliner into TS Mini with my Jeff Beck Strat. Ooh, that sounds like a brilliant rig. That would be glorious. Needless to say, my sound is probably way more distorted than John's. Yeah, but I bet it sounded so good. Those Hendrix PRS amps, I think, are really cool. I bet that's a great rig you got there. How far behind am I? I'm not that far behind. Gabe, Rick, hope you guys are doing well. Yeah, glad to see you guys tuning in to the live stream. Gabe, we were talking about these different PRS guitars. You mentioned your Super Eagle a little bit earlier on. Rick actually probably knows a bit more about the modern Eagle 5 as well, too. He's got his beautiful PRS guitars as well that he knows a bit more about that stuff than I do also. Bill Craig, I got to go to the SLC show, and the matte black Silver Sky looked incredible. Will be interesting to see if that's released next year. You never know. You never know. We'll have to see what happens here. How close is the feel thickness of the custom shop neck versus the Silver Sky neck? I can only go by memory, and my memory is a bit foggy because I sold my Silver Sky before I actually had my custom shop Strat in hand. I sold it before I went down to visit the Better Half's family in Los Angeles. Got to go hang out with Gabe again, which was really great. And I sold the Silver Sky before I left. And then I had my custom shop Strat shipped to me while I was down in LA. Then I shipped it myself up here in Canada. So I never got to play them side by side. So honestly, my memory is probably not going to do much justice to what the differences are. I'd like to actually be able to compare them side by side. So maybe I'll go and just like borrow one from a store or something. Borrow one, aka buy it and then return it. But yeah, don't really remember. Just different feeling, obviously. Though I think my Strat's neck is a little bit wider, not quite as like round in your hand than the Silver Sky, from what I kind of remember. Gabe might be able to tell me because he's got a Silver Sky and he's played my Strat too, so he might know better than me. I've been looking at JM Strats, and a lot of them are pretty heavy. What were and are the weight of your JM Strat? Silver Sky is a custom shop Strat. What have you preferred in terms of weight? I'm a really bad example of someone who cares about weight, because both of my Les Pauls are like 12 pounds, something like that. Like, they're very heavy, and I just am used to playing heavier guitars. So when I used to have an SG years ago, and I hated it because of how light it was, and that one also had really bad headstock, like it was headstock heavy, and I just was like, this is the worst. I could not get on with that SG at all. But just the weight of it, just being like nothing there, that kind of freaked me out a little bit. So I don't really care about like guitars being super light. I don't have a weight for my Silver Sky or my JM Sig. I know I would have done it just as like just to see, but I don't remember off the top of my head what either of them weighed. My Strat is what, 7.1 pounds, I think. I think it's 7.1 pounds. So lighter side, I think that's what it weighs. It was either 7.1 pounds or 7 pounds and 10 ounces, which that there's a difference. But again, that kind of goes to show you how much I care about weight. Like I didn't want it to be like an absolute boat anchor. I didn't also really care that it was super light, as long as it was in an acceptable range for a lot of people. That's kind of what I was looking for. But weight's not something that bugs me too much. I'm also someone who almost kind of subscribes to the theory that if there's a bit more actual physical sustenance, like substance there with a guitar, maybe it'll be more resonant. I don't know how true that is, but it's always something that I've kind of thought of. But heavy guitars don't really bug me that much, to be honest. It's not something that I'm like, that into. So do you give the other jam band Gunslinger on guitar from CT some love, aka Rick M from Goose? No, I don't even no. Not him. Yeah, no, I don't actually know. From Goose? I'm not sure who exactly you're referring to. My music knowledge isn't that vast or wide, so if you got someone new to introduce me to, I'd definitely take a listen. Wow, I'm all caught up on the chat here, guys. So if you guys have anything else you want to talk about, any other questions, I'm down hang around for a little bit longer. Other than that, I'll probably get ready to call it here and actually go finish my coffee. But yeah, now that the solo tour is done, it'll be interesting to see what else I want to talk about on the channel and stuff like that. Go back to like maybe some older performances, breaking them down gear wise. I'd love to do the Keith Urban Crossroads one. I talk about that one all the time as one of my favorite rigs and kind of tones of John. So maybe I should actually go down and talk about it on the channel. But if there's anything else you guys want me to discuss as well, after I get the next couple solo tour videos out, I have at least 3, maybe 4 more I want to make. Have coming out over the next like week or 2 for sure. From Billy, I'm looking for a solid fuzz pedal to add to my board. Anything you like these days? I don't play around with a lot of fuzz. The last fuzz pedal that I had was my Cornish NG2. I really want to try the King Tone mini fuzz. That's one that I think is very versatile. It's got a lot going on. That's probably the next one I want to get. That or the Mythos Golden Fleece, because Chris Buck uses it. And I think he gets really good sounds out of that. Those are 2 that I'm curious about trying, but I don't have a lot of experience with fuzz tones. Goose is amazing. Check them out. Logan for Dead and Company in Mexico. Awesome. Oh, okay. The name kind of, I thought maybe sounded familiar, but I definitely am not familiar with them. I'll have to check them out for sure. Tom Mawson, know of any NG2 alternatives and clones? I don't like to give any clones of the NG2 just because Pete's still making it. I get that like the Cornish pedals are absurdly expensive, take forever to be made and stuff like that, but Pete's still making them and doing his thing, so I don't like to recommend any clones. If ever he stops making it, then yeah, like clones for sure, like people go nuts, but I just personally am, I kind of like to let Pete continue to do his thing. Any alternatives for it though? I don't know, to be honest. It's a very unique sound, and like I said, I haven't had a lot of experience with fuzz pedals. I think like as long as you get like a good kind of like maybe like fuzz face style pedal, you should be able to get kind of like a nice like fizzy tone. Combine that with like the tone knob, volume knob, finger picking, should be able to kind of do like the Mare thing a little bit. I can send you some audio clips of my JB Strat Ghoul Screamer Millionaire TS once they're up. I feel like it might be wild though, since I didn't record it myself. Yeah, totally. DM me on Instagram. I'd love to hear that. That sounds absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, especially through Jeff Beck Strat. That'd be wicked. That'd be really glorious sounding. All right, thanks as always for hanging out. Your videos are much appreciated. Would love to see some videos about Mare's acoustic guitars. Can't wait to see the last few solo tour videos. Yeah, that's some of this other stuff I should probably talk about too. And thanks for the kind words, Elliot. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, maybe like the little mini parlor guitar kind of thing that John's playing. I'm not a big acoustic guy, honestly. So for me, it's hard to kind of make those videos because that's where my knowledge really has some gaps in it. And I'm kind of like, all right, like starting to get into territory that I don't know a lot about, and I learn things as I make those videos too, because I don't know that much about them. But even like talking about how John played like the Bells of Bianca guitar, that would be really cool to do as well. Yeah, so maybe some videos on his acoustics. Maybe like one full big video on like all of his acoustics. I think it was Gabe actually who had said that doing like a video breaking down like roughly John's acoustic history would be cool. That would be a really fun one to make as well. I'd have to do a lot of research though and learn a lot, because I don't really know a lot. But like, like the Dave Matthews acoustic he used in the early days, then going into like the OM28 and kind of the history like that, and then with the solo tour, really things getting a bit crazy. I think that'd be a really cool video. Did you do a video of when John was using a 80s Strat Plus? No, never did. 80s Strat Plus. I'm trying to think of when John used that. I'll have to look up that, and maybe there'll be a video I make. That'd be really interesting. Yeah. I know, Gabe. I remember you mentioned that to me, so that'll be one. I mentioned earlier in the stream too that the next video I'm putting out is on that Vultures jam you were talking to me about, that you showed me, because that was really cool. And if I'm highlighting moments in the solo tour, I want to talk about that Vultures jam for sure. So I'm really happy you showed me that one, because just hearing Vultures was performed, I probably would have just not listened to it unless you had sent it to me. So I appreciate it, you as always, brother. What did you think of the Alembic preamp in the Silver Sky on the last Dead and Company tour? I think it's cool. I think it's interesting. It makes the guitar just a bit more versatile. Either way, like that guitar was just, it's a part of history, because it's the very first Silver Sky that John's actually gone and modded away from the standard formula. Sure, he's playing prototypes on stage and everything like that, but that guitar was the first actual, like, true departure from the formula, away from just different pickups and stuff like that, like the string tree, the ash body, you're having like the hardtail kind of conversion that they did, and then the like blaster kind of thing in it as well. I think it's really cool. It's not for me. Dead and Company, Grateful Dead, never really been for me personally. I do wish I got to experience one show just to kind of have experienced that chapter of John's history. But if it wasn't for John, the Grateful Dead is just not something that I ever got into and I tried. It's just, obviously it's music that's not for everyone. I think it's really cool though what John did, but that's not really like for me. Exactly, and that kind of thing, like just using that kind of stuff. Crossroads, Queen of California. Yeah, doing some Crossroads stuff, Queen of California. A lot of that stuff would be really good to cover, tonally wise and everything as well. Did you mention in the past that you're into streetwear? Maybe start putting some JM fashion content idea. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool to talk about. Like, I'm a big sneakerhead. I'm kind of into Japanese streetwear a little bit because of John. When I was down in LA, not last time, but the time before that, Gabe and I went to visit them down there, which is really, really amazing. And Jake Loosemore's gotten really big into that kind of stuff too. A lot of the boys have gotten into that stuff too. I dabble in a little bit of like a neighborhood double taps, that kind of stuff. Kind of like the more affordable stuff. I'll spend money on an amp or guitar or a pedal, but when you're starting to spend that kind of money on clothes, that's the thing I draw the line at. Funny enough, so I'm like, all right, like I can't justify that, but I can justify this. Maybe it's because I can always sell this or whatever if I get rid of it. But clothes is kind of like, I feel like I'll just spill food on it or something and then it's ruined. But yeah, it'd be kind of cool to do, like, talk about James. Like, as a sneakerhead, I think that's cool, his sneaker stuff. That might be a bit too much of a departure for some people though from my guitar related content. Yeah, that video for sure I'll be making, game, because it was wicked. Front row guitar, hi from Scotland, Justin. Have you tried the Fender 57, 62 pickup sets, or the ones that come in the loaded pickguard yet? If yes, what do you think of them? I've ordered 2 sets because of reviews. No, never tried them yet. Like I said, I'm sure they're great. You'll have to come into the next live stream we do and give us an update if you get them and you get a chance to try them. My pickup knowledge isn't very vast, which is why, like, when I start really going for changing the pickups in my Strat, it'll be a really interesting experience to see what I like. Bonamass has done a couple Strat pickups as well that I'd like to maybe check out. Gabe, you might have actually played some of Joe's single coil pickups. I'll have to text you about that later. But I was thinking actually of maybe doing like Ronell 64s, neck middle, and then maybe doing a JB pickup in the bridge. Change things up. Never know. I don't have a lot of experience with speakers either. That's something I've never really gone into. I just went and got like Celestion G1265s and like my PRS cabs, and that was kind of, I called it a day. A lot of people are liking EVs lately. With like the EV12 MLs, I think. I know Gabe is really big into speakers. Jake Loosemore, really big into speakers as well. Those are two really great resources if you post in the Gear Lounge. They can also talk to you about that because they know a little bit more about those than I do. Oh, sorry, Kyle. That's when you use a Strat Plus Crossroads Festival during. Oh, okay, yeah. I know the exact guitar you're talking about now. Yeah, that it wasn't quite Fiesta Red. It was like kind of a shade of like kind of like a pink red. Yeah, I know the exact guitar you're talking about. Okay, that'd be a good one to talk about too, actually. To Get the Dead, if you haven't tried this yet, listen to Althea, Brown Eyed Woman, Uncle John's Band, listen to American Beauty album. They're what got me into Grateful Dead. I've listened to a lot of it. I do have to give it another shot. I remember John talked about there was a specific live performance of Althea that is what made the Grateful Dead click for him. He did it, and I think it was either like the Dean Del Rey podcast or one of the ones he did, but he mentioned the exact performance, the exact live performance. I found it on Apple Music, listened to it a handful of times, and it still didn't click, unfortunately. And I thought, okay, if I can listen to the exact performance that made the Dead click for John, maybe I'll get it too. And it didn't quite work for me, but I'll try it again. There's Visuminelli. I have to hunt for it. Granted, it's too pricey. Yeah, it's absurdly pricey. But their pieces are truly incredible, honestly. From what I can get. Yeah, there's one in Little Tokyo. That's the one Gabe frequents quite a lot. He's taken when any of us guys have come down to LA, he's taken us all there, which is really cool. From Ben, hey Justin, having seen John bring out some really cool guests in the solo show, who would you like to see him bring out? Chris Stapleton, when he did bring him out, I thought was incredible. Back during the 2019 tour, that's someone I'd love to see him bring out again, especially acoustic wise. Like Chris has an incredible voice. That would have been a really cool guest. Who else acoustically wise would be really cool? Ariel. I'm just, a big fan of Ariel. I think guitar wise, like I could just envision it, like Ariel having like a mule like Mavis or something, like baritone, John playing acoustic, and they just jam together like that. I think that would be fucking sick. Honestly, I think that'd be really cool if they did that together. But like Chris Stapleton, I'm a massive JT fan too. Timberlake, I really, really enjoy a lot. He's got a really great voice too, and like when he collabed with Chris Stapleton, I thought that was very brilliant too. So somewhere along those lines, or of course Keith Urban. Keith Urban's the other one where I'm like, yeah, bring Keith out. That'd be really great as well. Those are kind of like the ones that come to my mind at least. Yeah, Gabe, throw some speaker advice in the chat here. Deluxe Reverb, I love the Celestion Classic Lead 80. Yeah, Gabe's got his vintage Deluxe Reverb too. He's getting some that thing sounds brilliant. And I know, Gabe, you've experimented with different speakers, even in your cab that you use for your Wallogen as well. So yeah, these guys are quite a bit more knowledgeable when it comes to speakers than I am. Do you know what brand of strings John uses and string gauges? Electric, Ernie Ball. Regular was what he used to use. I think on the Silver Skies, he swapped over to Mega. That was directly from Ernie Ball. They posted a thing where it was like John uses Ernie Ball Mega Slinkies, and that was kind of, with the Silver Sky being his main electric. So I think that's what he used on those. Maybe Struts as well. I personally just like regulars. That's kind of what I stick with, more or less. I've done Megas the odd time, but kind of depends, I guess, going back and forth. Clip the brake cab looks just smoother, but clip the brake has much more usable with pedals. Yeah, okay, yeah, there you go. Again, some good advice for like the fizzy, how they take overdrive. Gabe, I'm not sure if you were here in the chat when that question was asked, but It was asked as well, how do you make deluxe reverbs or Fender amps in general take overdrive pedals better and be less fizzy? And I recommended, I think that has a lot to do with the speaker too, potentially. Correct me if I'm wrong. Gabe, we got to get you on a live stream here at some point too. Get some of the boys to come in and chat and do like a live stream hangout. That'd be a lot of fun. Miles Messina, hey Justin, what do you think about the Cherrytone JM100 amp? I think for the price, it's a very great offering for those kind of sounds. I just am somewhat skeptical personally on how accurate it is to everything. I know it's supposed to be kind of a combination of Steel String Singer and Mayer Sig 2 Rock, from what I understand, which is a very cool take if you're looking for kind of one amp to like do it all. Again, for the price point, I think, what else can you really get for that price point that does like kind of the same thing? How close it is to everything else, and that it's supposed to be kind of a replica of, that I don't know. I've heard conflicting things on that, but I'm sure it sounds good. People, I've heard great tones out of it. So, yeah. So I got into that, nothing but listen to random songs by Dead for a week leading up to Denko show. Went to Granite, I got obsessed and semi-addicted for a while. Yeah, I don't know if I could handle doing that personally. But I'll give it another shot. With Dead and Company, though, not really doing anything now and no more real tours coming up, my incentive, to be honest, to listen to the Dead is kind of, probably as low as it's ever been, because it's like, well, I'm not going to go see John perform with them. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it's one thing as, my music tastes mature and I keep, going along that journey. I think John even said, like, the Dead finds you, you don't find the Dead. So maybe they just haven't found me yet at the right time. Yeah, Alicia Keys has been a really great collaboration that John's done as well. She's just got an amazing voice too. That'd be really cool. Yeah, fizz could be speaker, also volume. If you have the bright cab, the amp will be fizzy until like 4 or 5 in the volume, just from past experience. Yeah. Gabe coming in clutch with advice on how to keep your Fender amps less fizzy. That's one thing I have noticed in the little I've played my new Vibreverb, just compared to the reissue. Seems to enjoy overdrive just a little bit more, which is interesting that the vintage do that a little bit better. Could be the speaker too, because that JBL I think is making a massive freaking difference. What happened to the J mod? Has he moved on from it? Yeah, I think the J mod's done. I think he's moved on from it. It's just a weird amplifier, in my opinion. Like, we're gonna build an amp that sounds like my other favorite amps. Why don't you just use your favorite amps then? I think it's kind of like what ended up happening. Like, of course, it was designed for Dead and Company. Then they tried to like bring that kind of tone back into like the regular Mayer kind of sound, and then just naturally it went kind of back to his kind of main amp rig and kind of the main combination of Fender, 2 Rock, Dumble. Even during the 2019 World Tour, which was what was kind of funny, is that the J mod was what was plugged into the 112 cab, and the 2 Rock, which sat on the 112, was actually plugged into the 212 that the J mod was on. So just physically, like for spacing wise, that's how they did it. But it's kind of worth noting too that even in 2019, the J mod was the one that was getting only one speaker. I think that's just honestly what it was. Yeah, I think it's just a bit of a weird part of John's gear history personally. And I think it just goes to show with him not really using it much. Cool amp, obviously, really, I'd love to have one. Love to have one just as part of the collection, have an actual like signature Mayer amplifier. But I think it's just one of those things where, yeah, that part of it was kind of, from what I know, was maybe designed to be a lot more like, amps he just likes. And he's kind of like, well, I have those amps already. So he kind of moved along going back to them. I've actually been trying out some 80s PV Black Widow 12 speakers with the 59 Tweed basement clone and the 70s basement. Whew. Some beautiful amplifiers there. Some pretty good results, surprisingly. Whenever I hear PV, I just think of the dips in tone. Oh, if PV built a boat, I'd buy it. Kind of thing. But that's great. I think, like with the, honestly, like with everything, like, there's really no, well, okay, there is better and worse gear. Like, that's just the reality of the situation. Like, factually speaking, there is stuff that's better than others. But there's no better or worse in terms of what you like. You know, like I think that's what a huge part of it all is, even with speakers, pickups, tube screamer clones. It's what you like is what's important. Like everyone's ear is different, what everyone likes, what everyone thinks sounds closer. It's kind of always objective. So I think, you know, the experimentation is a lot of the fun too, and finding out just what you in generally like. And so like look at that, you know, A's PV speakers you're getting really great results with, and that's fantastic. I think that's wicked. Yeah, and that's the thing, you know, like for me, like I have my vintage 70s Les Pauls, and the Norland era is not one that a lot of people think fondly of, but it's like what Randy Rhodes's custom Les Paul was a 74, same year as mine. It seemed to work pretty damn good for him, right? So I think, you know, gear that's low, I think it's just, you know, a lot of people on the gear page just being some sort of way about things and having something to hate because they hate it. If it sounds great to you, then, you know, who cares what other people think? You know, that's what matters. And I think, you know, people can get different results out of different gear in the same gear as well. Miles, do you know if John uses supersonic amps? Because I saw one on stage on his Bud Light 2017 show, but I'm not sure if it's his. What? I'm trying to think. Supersonic amp. I know it's a Fender. Oh, are you might be confusing that potentially with the Dual Professional that he had. Because the ones that I'm coming up with, they're all cream Tolex, almost identical form factor to the Dual Professional. So if that's what you're thinking of, I'm not sure what the other guys were using on stage, if they had one or not. But John doesn't use Supersonics, I know. Could just be the Dual Professional that you're kind of confusing the two, because the Dual Professional was part of his 2017 tour setup. Sat kind of either to the side of, if you had a 2-amp setup, it was a J Mod and the Dual Professional, or it was in between the two, and sometimes had a Victoria Reverberato on top, depending. The Fender 5762 pickup sets do sound great, really vintage, low output sound, and true to the time apparently, that aren't reverse polarity. I've heard John prefers reverse wound, reverse polarity pickups. Is that true? I don't remember ever hearing a direct quote on that, if he prefers that or not, to be honest. Because is the Silver Sky, is that RWRP? I don't even know. Could be if he prefers it in the Silver Sky. He maybe prefers it for the more modern take, but if you look at all those vintage struts, which we assume have the original pickups, I don't think so. But could be a thing, just for that, especially, you know, those sounds where you're getting less hum and everything. So that could be a thing. Okay, a couple more questions if you guys have it, then I'm going to call it. It's been fun hopping back on and just doing another live stream, chatting with you guys. I like doing these semi-frequently, just so we can kind of talk, hang out, connect with you all. I'm actually going to change my camera battery here too, because it's about to die. There we go. Now we're back. Now we are back. Yeah. If any of you guys have another couple questions or things you want to chat about, let me know, and then we'll probably get ready to call the live stream here. I appreciate all of you guys coming in, tuning in, spending some time and hanging out as always. Yeah, like I said, these are a lot of fun. Just kind of nice to chat about things and answer some questions and try and help you guys out or figure some things. Yeah, just fun way to spend the afternoon too. Kind of hang out. The community that we got on YouTube here and in the John Mayer Gear Lounge is awesome. I love it a lot, and it's just nice to kind of connect with you guys in this way and stuff like that. And instead of just being me talking to you guys through a YouTube video or anything like that, I can actually just kind of converse and chat about things in this way, which I really love. Heard it from the Pedal Show YouTube guys when they were talking about John Strat sound. I'm not sure how, like, if that's their, I assume maybe more I take that as that's their hunch and what they think. I'm not sure how accurate that is in terms of what he actually like uses on stage, though. Yeah, I'm not sure how accurate that is, but probably just their hunch from like tonally wise. It could make sense. But I don't know. I don't think he puts, different pickups in a lot of his vintage strats. Like the 64, for example, one of his main guitars, that would have just the original pickups. So I'm willing to guarantee, essentially. Do you think John will play his ES335 again, or the Gibson, or even the 64 Strat? I hope so one day. I hope so. I think the 594 is really taken over for the 335 sound, even though it's like, well, solid body versus hollow body, so you're getting some differences there. But I think we'll see it again. I think once we kind of get through the whole very big Silver Sky phase, which John's doing right now, I think, and I've said this before, but I really hope that we get a point where we can coexist with the Silver Sky and Fenders on stage, where John will play both, maybe for newer stuff, like if he's going to play Last Train Home, we will get a Silver Sky. Then if he goes and plays Belief, we'll get the black one. Or Slow Dancing, then we'll get, the 64. I hope that that's where we go to. I think we will eventually get to a point. And I'm just trying to speak that into existence. Not that actually will happen. Like the Crossroads 335, though. I kind of thought that maybe if we were going to get it anytime soon, he would have played it at Crossroads. But then, of course, the set list didn't really call for it either. So, yeah, I don't know. Joey, I'm still using my Canon EOS RP, kind of like the entry-level R. It works great for what I use for my videos, but eventually I'd love to upgrade it again. The RF glass that I have with it, lens, is really great. Kind of helps boost everything up with the camera a bit, but that's what I'm using, because the web camera on my iMac is not bad, but I like just using this one better. But I thought it would charge it while I do it too, and then the first stream I did, it died on me, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess it still requires battery. It doesn't charge while I'm just doing it. Thanks, front row. Hit the like, guys. Appreciate that as always. Digitally Handmade, thoughts on the upcoming Hodinkee Online Ceramics G-Shop collab. Hope it's better than that Sheeran one. That Sheeran one was cool, but it just was like, yeah, we went with like my album cover, and that was the story. Like, I think John's put a lot of thought and effort into the inspiration, the classic color schemes that he's done with his watches. So hopefully this one's going to be kind of cool. I don't know, like Online Ceramics is not really a brand that I'm like overly into personally. They make some cool designs and everything like that, but I'm just not that into Online Ceramics. So I'm sure it'll be cool. It'll be interesting to see if it looks cool and there's a cool story behind it. That might be one that I'd be interested in picking up, just to add to the collection. But I have the 3 Mirror ones, which were, the ones that I mainly cared about. Yeah, I think it could be cool. Their designs I really like. The quality is where I personally kind of get a little bit like with Online Ceramics, but it'll be the same quality as like the other G-Shock watches, so that's not an issue. So if the design is good, I feel like that might be one Mirror would wear quite a bit too. So that could be a cool one I might be interested in picking up. Thoughts on Visvim? Would you ever get into collecting clothes? God, I can't speak today. Thoughts on Visvim? Would you ever get into clothes collecting to match the gear? I touched on this a little earlier in the stream. Visvim, I'll justify buying like a custom shop Strat or something ridiculous like that. No problem. But when it comes to clothes, I can't. I can't justify that stuff. I can justify a little bit more with sneakers, because I find that I take care of them a lot, and like all my different Jordans and stuff, I'll care for, I'll clean, and I'll be cautious of when I wear them. But clothes, it's just like I'm not the, what's the word I'm trying to go for here? I spill a lot when I eat or like when I drink. I'm just clumsy that way. Like my coffee, like my jacket that I wore when I went and picked this up, I got coffee on it. So I have to go put it in the wash now. So I feel like I'm a high risk kind of person for like really nice clothes. So when you get to like Visvim prices for stuff, I just can't justify it because too, it's like it's something that, you know, like I have friends like Rick, Gabe, even Sam and Jake are getting into Visvim now and stuff like that. If you take care of it, it'll last you an extremely long time. But like I'm just not someone who I think I'm quite there yet with spending that kind of money on it. Yeah, $1,000 for a pair of jeans. No way. Like try like what Gabe, if you're still here, what are like the social sculpture jeans? Aren't they like 3K for a pair of jeans or something absurd like that? I can't justify that. That's why I'm a big fan of double taps and neighborhood though, where you're like, they're still more expensive, obviously, but they're a lot more accessible in terms of price point where I don't feel as bad if, you know, like a t-shirt or something, or even like Kith. I really like Kith's actual like in-house brand. I really like as well for a lot of like really good styles where it's like, you know, you're still getting like a high-end product, but you're not getting into like Capital or Visvim prices, where it's like, you know, crazy. Yeah, and exactly. And like, so like Gabe is also, you're someone who I admire a lot because you just appreciate all that stuff a lot more than I ever kind of, I think, could, to be honest, where if you're really like into that and stuff like that, I get it. I just personally, it's not totally for me. Mac, hey, how you doing, man? Mac's a really big Visvim head too. So I think for me, like maybe one day, I could start to dip my toes in like some like the higher end Japanese streetwear and stuff like that. But I think too, where I'm at is just like it's so much money. And like where I know like if you take care of it and stuff, you can buy and sell Visvim and trade it just like gear. But I'm a lot more comfortable spending money on gear as like also like an investment and an asset where it's like generally stuff's appreciating. Or at least like the money's safe there. Or maybe that's where it's me as well. It's like that's where I have I'm a bit more comfortable with it, so to speak. But I love it. Like all the pieces are gorgeous. Yeah, see, Gabe, you and I are almost exact opposites in that sort of stuff. You love Visvim, you never buy gear, you care much more about the clothing. Where it's me, it's like exactly. I have the opposite thing where I can buy gear, not even blink, but clothes. I'm like, ooh. So that's where I like to go to. Like Haven's doing like a big Black Friday sale, so if they have like a little bit of neighborhood on there, maybe I'll get like another T-shirt or something like that, where it's, you know, getting it then for like 50% off of what it is already is like very reasonable at that point. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Some jeans are high priced. We get the raw denim is much more affordable, but again, it's perspective. 100%. It's all perspective on that sort of stuff. Part of it too is, like I said, I just can't trust myself. Like even like I bought this really nice Kith. I think it was the LAX tee. That was like raw wash or whatever, like kind of like the same color brown that like John's one Visvim t-shirt is. And Gabe, you know the t-shirt I'm talking about because they had it when you and I went to Visvim. Exact same color of like chocolate brown. I spilt something on it, and then I put a little bit of just like cleaner on it to get it out, and then I forgot to put it, or like, I forgot to like hand wash it out, so I left the cleaner on overnight, and now there's just a big like white spot in the middle of the shirt. So that's just why I can't trust myself with that sort of stuff either, because I'll just ruin it. Or at least this is like, what am I gonna do? I blow a tube, all right, throw a new one in it. SRV is the standard signature 2010, I think. Yeah, so just the regular kind of spec SRV one. It's kind of cool. It's a cool guitar. The vibe is very, it's very sick. Yeah, guys, I think I'm gonna call it here. Appreciate you all hanging out and spending some time in the stream, and yeah, hanging out. We'll do these again more frequently and stuff like that. Like I've started doing a bit more frequently now. Maybe I'll look into upgrading my StreamYard account where I can actually like overlay things in the chat as well, so I could put like a video in or images and talk about that like live with you guys. I think that'd be really cool because right now I'm just using their free profile, so it's got like the logo powered by StreamYard up on the top and stuff like that, which would be nice to get rid of as well. But for what we're doing, it works. So maybe one day I'll upgrade that and get a little bit more in depth with these. But I like just using these as a tool to chat with you guys and hang out. That's for sure. But yeah, thank you guys all so much for tuning in and spending a bit of your day with me. I really appreciate you guys always tuning into the channel, all the love and support and everything. Means a lot to me, and it's just nice to kind of get to know you guys a bit more and hang out and stuff like that. So yeah, until the next live stream, you guys, take care. Have a great rest of your Monday, especially if you're off today. In Canada, at least, it's our like Veterans Day holiday, so we're off today, just kind of hanging out and stuff. So yeah, take care, you guys. We'll see you on the next one.